There he is, Tom.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah, sorry for being late.
Oh, you just made it, Bill.
Just made it.
I
Just
know.
on the wire.
Woo-wee.
We're all set, Tom.
Thank you. Is that Stone?
It is.
Hi, Stone. Thank
hi.
you. Yeah. Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask George to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Abadili?
Present.
Foster? You're muted, Louise.
Sorry, present.
Gilmore, present. Hearn?
Present.
Lee?
Present.
Tangney?
Present.
And Sempu will be joining us at a later time. Administrator Darcy Carley is not here today. And staff member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
Agent Ed Hoops.
Present.
We have a quorum and the floor is yours, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And take under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Chapter 237 of the Code of Town of Barnstable. The Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October the 10th, 2023 at 3 p.m. on the applications of the Beach Club, Ann M. and Leo B. Smiths, Putnam Property, LLC, Hamilton Shapley, William and Mary Beth Eddy. The hearing will be held remotely as televised on Channel 18. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointment by sending emails request to Darcy Curley at 230 South Street, Hyannis. This meeting is being recorded and transmitted on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, please make your presence known. Hearing none. This afternoon's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the town of Barnstable for the cost of advertisement. Please send your checks to Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participation. The Conservation Commission public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, cited by the governor on March 29, 2023. Suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided for the following manner. 1, the hearing will be televised via Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2, the real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 828-2216-0255. Or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. 3rd, the public can also email the comments to darcy.curley@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. The first item under the agenda is the old and new business. The Bog Partners, LLC, 11246 Bums River Road and 0 Mary Ann Terrace, maps 188, parcel 45 and 12, request for enforcement actions. This is only a discussion with the commissioner. So, Ed, you wanted to give us some information?
Sure. So we received a complaint last week, 10 days ago, 7 days ago, from the group, the Bog Friends group. They were concerned with some of the way the fence has been constructed. For those of you who don't remember, about 2 years ago, we went through some permitting. The commission issued a positive determination for the fence. It was appealed, and DEP issued a superseding determination of negative determination of applicability. So at this point, the DEP is the permitting authority. The Friends Group had noticed the fence was built, I think maybe about two weeks ago or so, and they had some concerns with some of the design and seeing whether or not it varied from the permitted plan. What I would suggest, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. These are the pictures that were sent along with the complaint. I couldn't really tell as to whether or not the what's on the ground is actually in compliance or not without going out. At this point, I don't know if I have the right to do that. So basically, I would suggest that since we are not the issuing authority in this case, that we would refer this to DEP and let them pursue any investigation or take the lead in that investigation and let them decide how they want to proceed.
Thank you, Ed. I would strongly recommend that we should redirect this to DEP and let them decide how to take this enforcement action or not, because they need to, do the site visit and then make that determinations. If they require us to help, then we can. But that's my suggestions. Any comment from the commissioner?
I do.
Go ahead.
Well, I did take a look at the fence, and I brought a tape measure. And what I found was that in general, that fence is invariably quite a bit higher than 6 feet. It's about 81 inches, maybe 82, maybe 80, but I would say, and I measured it about 10 different places, and it's clearly taller than 6 feet. I looked at the bottom and I measured that in a number of places, and it's clearly more than 6 inches in a lot of places. And I don't think I ever saw it less than 6 inches at the bottom. The bottom also was nicely folded up. You know how fences can be like really sharp with that, really points down that, an animal would get clawed. Well, in fact, they're like bent up. So I thought there was good clearance underneath. The wildlife openings the 3 of them are there, and they meet the specifications. But in considering this, you may remember 2 years ago, I was pretty vocal about the effects of this fence on large wildlife, in particular coyotes and deer. And so I was thinking about the height, and before I went out, I looked at, well, how high can deer jump? And I was amazed with the results. And I just want the commission to hear this, because I do have a complaint, which is not to say a gigantic complaint. But the Journal of Wildlife Management is a very leading wildlife journal, and I'm sure Ed is quite familiar with the Journal of Wildlife Management. And there's a 2010 article, and I can just, the lead author is someone named Vercauteren, Vercauteren. And the title of the article in the Journal of Wildlife Management is Assessment of Abilities of White-tailed Deer to Jump Fences. Some researcher went out and they did a lot of work to figure out how high can a deer jump? And the results, I'm going to cut to the chase. If it's 5.9 feet, according to this paper, that's 70.8 inches. At 70.8 inches, 86% of white-tailed deer can clear the fence. I should tell you that at 4.9 feet, 100% of deer can clear it. But 6 feet, 86% can clear it. Somewhat shockingly, it doesn't take much more to become a block to deer. at 82.7 inches, which is only like about an inch and a half higher than what this fence is, only 15% of white-tailed deer can clear the fence. It goes down to 15, meaning 85% exclusion. And if you take a linear extrapolation of that, essentially by making this fence 81 inches high, only 25% of white-tailed deer can clear it. So there's a major reduction. So the point is that by jacking it up that extra about 8 inches, it really has an effect. I mean, 6 feet is kind of the threshold where deer really start to get affected. And by going up that extra several inches, it makes a big difference. But beyond that, I think that the structure will pass animals. Although I am concerned about the height, and it's like, what do you do? Do you like take the whole darn fence down and make it only 6 feet? I mean, that's kind of extreme too. So anyway, that's what I have to report.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else has a comment?
Yes, please.
John?
Yeah, notwithstanding Bill's analysis from practical point of view, Bill, I think the real question before us is whether this commission should direct its enforcement officer to go out and enforce an order that we didn't issue. The order was not issued by the Conservation Commission, I think, as Tom pointed out, but the order was issued by the state. I think, therefore, the state has an enforcement branch and has the authority to do the authority and responsibility to do the enforcement site visit. I think if they requested local assistance, Ed, I assume you'd be willing to help them out. But the authority lies with the state, not with the town commission, Bill, in my opinion. Your arguments are valid, and I think all those issues should be looked at, but by whom is the question that I'm raising. So,
Thanks, John. Louise, did you?
No.
No?
Right.
Okay. Anybody else has a comment? The commissioner? Hearing none? Let me try this and how it goes. Could I have a motion to ask the staff to redirect this enforcement request to DEP for the states to take any actions?
So moved.
I'd second it, of course.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Dangy.
Aye, meaning it doesn't go with any comments about the fence being taller than and not, it's not in compliance, but we're just going to push it forward to see if they notice. Is that what we're doing?
And I think, Angela, I'm sorry, Tom, I think we should recommend it, and I think he's already agreed that, having heard Bill's comments, if they ask for local assistance, those points that Bill brought up should certainly be raised.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. The next item is the revised plan. Margaret and Michael Kern, SE 3-5929, 25 Maywood Avenue, Hyannis. Oops. Yes. Chuck?
Good afternoon, Chuck Rowland, Sullivan Engineering Consulting. I'm going to see if I can share my screen.
Rick, did we get any paperwork on this? Because I didn't see it.
I handed in a revised plan sheet.
I must not have got it. I'm sorry.
I didn't receive it either.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, Louise.
Sorry about that. I think I handed the stuff in properly, but maybe Kim or Darcy can speak to that. So,
yeah, these don't have to come in for the deadline filing, so I'm pretty sure they came in after that deadline, so they may still be in the mail that hasn't been picked up yet.
Yeah, so
Yes,
I gotta drop.
it looks like it's still in the mailbox.
Okay.
I think the requirements for these, they're in front of me, is the noon the week before, on a Monday the week before, but I always drop it off like Wednesday or Thursday before that. So if that missed you up, but so Chuck Rowland, Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the Kerrs at 25 Maywood. Presently, the site is under construction. The bank restoration, dune planting, and Phragmites removal is being implemented by Wilkinson. And this work encompasses a little over 7,000 square feet of bank and wetland restoration. And the revised plan request is for the approval of several enhancements to the previously approved revised plan, including granite stepping stones, bluestone steps, landing with stairs on the east side of the property, additional parking by the road, a fire pit in the utility area. Although the revision does add hardscape to the buffer area, the approved restoration area exceeds the required mitigation. The large restoration of the wetland area adds significant wetland and wildlife habitat to the site while not expanding the original footprint of the property. Additionally, the landscape plan has added planting to the bank restoration. Species to be added are butterfly weed, beach grass, goldenrod, beach plum, bayberry, and sea buckthorn. This is adding 87 plants to the bank restoration area, which has already been planted with 41 native species. The additional planting is more than twice the previously approved number of plants to 128 plants in the bank restoration area. So what's being asked for approval is the fire pit. These stones that are close to the house to kind of prevent the lawn area from eroding when you step out of your house. These granite steps, which are really needed for safety to access the backyard. The stairs and patio area here on the right side. We have a utility area up here, as well as the driveway. And then here's the engineering plan. Which shows all that as well. So fire pit, stairs, patio and stairs, utility area. Oh, I also have the entryway right there. Gravel parking area, granite. And then on the other plan has the plants as well. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Question from the commissioner? Luis?
Hi, Chuck. Where does the extra mitigation go?
So the plants that we've added are in this area right here. They're plants that are shown on this plan.
Okay, along where the wetland is, right?
So if we switch to the engineering plan, this is the top of the state definition only, and then this is the top of the town bank definition.
Okay, so it's along the top of the town bank, more or less. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioner? John?
Yes, please. Where is on this plan? Where is the 50 foot from the town bank?
Right here where it says 50 feet.
Oh yeah, there it is. So everything you're adding is within the 0 to 50.
Not everything.
Not everything.
We've asked for is outside the 50-foot buffer.
Yeah, right. But these stones here and those steps going down in the fire pit are in the 0 to 50, correct?
Yeah, I know that it's not, completely conventional, but I have to say that the granite steps really are for safety. trees we were wanting to put in to decrease any kind of killing of the grass when you kind of walk out of the house, because it has sliders right here. And we do know that it's in the 50-foot buffer, but if you look down here on the if you were to like go by mitigation requirements, we're required about 3,700 square feet of mitigation planting, and we're more than twice that between the Phragmites, the dune restoration, and the bank restoration. It's all in consultation with Wilkinson.
The only issue that jumps out to me, honestly, is that location of that fire pit in there. Because fire pits then generally are surrounded by, they usually like to put gravel around it or something for a seating area and use of that. So I must say, I would be dying to hear Bill Hearn's comments, but whether that's a concern or not, that I would have. Chuck.
Fair comments.
Thanks, John. Bill?
I'm not at all familiar with this site. I didn't go. I didn't have the plans, and so I'm just shooting from the hip here. When you were responding to Louise on where the mitigation area was, that's like new planted area, because this is a project that already presumably was approved and had some kind of mitigation. So you're not planting on top of a mitigation area that's already in existence, are you?
Essentially, we're adding plants to an area that we've already said that we're enhancing. So, I mean, is it true mitigation? No, we're not planting lawn, and we're not. So we're adding plants to a previously, bank restoration area.
But the idea of a mitigation area is that you're going to let it effectively grow wild. You're not mowing, you're letting Mother Nature take its course, and you started presumably with the old mitigation, you've got a bunch of plants in there, but to be it seems like you're double dipping. So I have a concern with that, one. And the other thing is, I would agree that the fire pit, is something that is sitting right close to that. And you're in the 0 to 50. So I have an issue with what you're actually doing to mitigate for all of this additional hardscape, including the fire pit issue. Thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner?
My hand is up.
Oops, Louise.
To follow up on what Bill just kind of revealed during the first part of his comments. Chuck, you just said that these additional plantings for mitigation are actually in an area where bank restoration was done. I presume that means that had been part of earlier mitigation. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so the plants are just being added to bolster the bank restoration area that was previously approved. That is correct.
Well, I agree. That sounds a lot like double dipping to me. I think that, I think it's nice. It's great that you have been providing double the amount of required mitigation, but you can't just, put it all in one spot. It needs to be, that square footage represents the area that is going to be covered by plants. So you just can't plant, how do I even say it? It's got to be spread out. You just can't plant one thing over another.
Then we're happy to remove those plants if you don't want.
Well, no, I'd like to have them, but I'd like to have them cover 772 or whatever it was square feet in addition to what the original mitigation covered. Does that make sense to you? Do you follow what I'm saying?
I think so, but it's, I hope that we can kind of come up with a, some common ground here, because it's just, there's no way that I'll be able to convince my client to give up the rest of his yard for the fire pit. But
No, I'm not talking about the fire pit. I'm talking about, you have other elements of this project, which also would bring forth mitigation. Now, maybe you say, okay, I'm going to use some of that extra mitigation to cover the additional elements of the project, but I don't think you ought to be, bookkeeping by saying that you're going to mitigate for the new parts of the project and then put the plantings superimposed on what you already agreed to do.
Thanks, Luis. John?
Yeah, I think am I muted? I think the issue for the commission, Louise and Bill, is, and I think I'm glad you pointed it out, the applicant is not increasing the area of mitigation. And I think that, Bill, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I didn't realize that. They're adding some additional plantings within the previously approved mitigation area. But the issue for me is, given what they are asking for, and given the fact that the mitigation offered in the original application exceeded any required mitigation, seems to me that Chuck should be saying that, we, as the commission has done in the past, you have realized that we've offered, quote, excessive mitigation, in quote, and therefore would like to take advantage of that and add these additional items within the 0 to 50. But they've gone a little bit beyond that, and they said, well, not only did we give you more mitigation than previously required, we're even increasing a little bit by adding some more plants. So, but I think that the point that Bill and Louise made is correct. So to me, the commission has to say, do we want to give them credit for the, quote, excess mitigation offered in the original application? I'll answer that for myself, at least, that I'm okay with doing that. I am not okay with the fire pit, but I am okay with the other parts that they're asking for. My own personal opinion on that.
Yeah, I would agree with John on that.
In the past, sometimes the applicant has done more mitigation than they require, and a lot of times they're banking the credit, and then they're using that for some additional built hardscape in the proposed area, just like similar to this one. So I think I'm fine with that in terms of that interpretation stuff. But I think Chuck, you should be taking, if we remove the fire pit, is that an issue that you have to deal with? You have to get an answer from your clients.
Well, also, I think from a bookkeeping point of view, with the idea that they could come back in, a couple of years and say, well, I hope I got to bank the extra mitigation that I put in. I think we want to make sure that extra 771 or whatever it was isn't counted as even more mitigation. In other words, the process should be, as John described, that the extra mitigation that they offered to begin with would cover the additional items in the project, but that we're not going to say, and they have given us more mitigation on top of that. Because,
or phrased another way, they've used it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? My question is
Sure.
Before you even get to mitigation, was this revision to add all these things? These were not on the original plan. In other words, not just the fire pit, but the stepping stones, additional parking, utility area, bluestones, all of that has been in the revision now? This mitigation is supposed to cover all of those ads this time around?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So I showed it as the things that were bubbled are the revision blocks in the mitigation calculations.
So there's a lot of ads in this
I
revision.
mean, and it was like 320 square feet over, of ad with a 7,000 square foot, wetland and bank restoration area. So, I mean, I don't think it's as big as some of these projects that I've been working on, but sure. Yes, those are what is proposed in this revision.
So after they did these mitigation proposals, then they decided, hey, we did so much, we can add all these things to this now. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean, things kind of have progressed with construction. We got a finalized landscape plan, and obviously.
So they may have had this planned all along. They planned extra mitigation, so then later on they could revise the plan and add more things to it than originally was presented. See, I wasn't here for the original presentations. That's where I'm trying to understand how far they're taking it beyond what was originally proposed.
Right. So no, those are good questions. So as far as I know, the current landscape designer, Mainstay Landscape, they were not even brought in at the time of original even construction. I think they were brought in probably about 6 months ago, and they worked on a landscape plan. They got that to me, and so that's where these revisions are coming from. So, I mean, we're hoping that we can use some of our good graces with hiring Wilkinson and all this restoration work that we've proposed, that we can we're hoping we can use the the good sentiment that we used and all this work that we've proposed in adding some of these what I consider fairly minor additions, and that's why we want to work with you guys. So it sounds like the fire pit, it's just too close and it causes too much traffic to the top of the bank. So I think that we're willing to concede on that. But if there's other things that you guys want to bring up, we're happy to discuss that too.
Thanks, Chuck. George.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, I remember we've done this a number of times where projects of the restorations in particular. Obviously, if they're doing a restoration, it all is kind of done at the same time. And usually with the restoration, we have a surplus in mitigation, if you will, and often they'll come back later with maybe some other ideas they've had, and we've allowed it. I kind of agree with John. If we could do something about the fire pit, that would be great. But I think, given the amount of restoration mitigation, but we certainly, like you said, Louise, I don't think we want to give him credit for what he's doing this time around, and we want to make sure that we have the proper numbers in the bank, if you will. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Bill?
There have been some examples, particularly the restoration type work, where it is sort of, it'll tip the balance in whether or not we want to approve a project. It's like, well, there's an impact there, and this is not so good, but wow, look at all that mitigation, and we're going to give you even more. And I feel like there's a certain slippery slope or a policy thing here where when somebody comes and says, oh, here's the mitigation, what do you think? And then we go, yeah, that's great. Then we sign on the dotted line. Oh, well, then we also get to do this and this and this and this, because which is what we're doing here. And it doesn't feel right to me. And George, you say, well, we've done this before. I've been here over 2 years, and I don't recall that happening. Maybe once in a really tiny way, but generally we go, oh, that's really great. Lots, extra. And no, I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me.
Thanks, Bill. any more comment before I'm trying to wrap this up? George,
Yeah.
you want to make a comment too, George?
No, I'm all set. My hand
Okay.
didn't go down.
Who says something? John?
Yeah, just final comment. We have, Bill, in my memory, done this more than once in a while. We have allowed this. That's why I said I think the point that Louise was making was right. At some point, you're going to say, okay, well, that's done. And if you want to do any more, you offer additional mitigation, which is not the case here. I look at what they're asking for in terms of the stones and the walking steps. I don't think that they're a significant impact. I think that from the project point of view, if they had asked for this in the original project, I probably would have jumped on it the same way and said, we're getting a lot more than we're giving up from an environmental point of view. So, but for the fire pit, I'm okay with this project.
Okay.
Thank you, John. But let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve the revised plan, except with the removal of the fire pit, and the planting has no more credit on this site available for future considerations, and we need a revised plan to show this change.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
A reluctant aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney.
I'll abstain.
That motion carries, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you very much for working with me.
Yep. We have two enforcement orders. The first one is Tamaran and Gooden and Trywell, 1271 Old State Road, Marston's Mills, map 150, parcel 078, alteration of the buffer to a wetland resource area, wooden swamp, by cutting trees. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a pretty straightforward. The homeowner bought the house and moved into the house earlier this year. I think it was late May or early June sometime. He had hired Triple Crown tree workers to do some tree work in the backyard. What resulted, they did not realize, neither the homeowner or the arborist realized there was a wetland in the way back portion of the property. This wetland is marked only on our GIS wetland layer. If you look at the Mass Mapper wetland layer that's issued by the state, it does not appear on there. So it was a rather hard wetland to delineate. It definitely is a wetland. It is on the ground. I can see it with my own two little eyes. But the photo interpreters could not pick that up when they were doing their satellite review. So this wetland does exist. It is, you can see the red line here marks the 100-foot line from the wetland. Most of the tree work was done here in this region of the 50 to 100. There was one tree back in here at about 42 to 44 feet away from the wetland that has been cut down as well. You can see the general site view of the backyard. Just a portion of the backyard is still within the 100-foot. The house and everything associated with the house, other than there's a little walkway, is fully outside the 100-foot. So it's just this area that you're seeing in the pictures that were affected and within the jurisdiction. So what the enforcement order is asking is that a restoration planting sketch plan be supplied to me so I can review that by November 1st of this year, and then restoration of the 50-foot area should be completed by May 31st, 2024. based on that sketch plan. The homeowner has asked that they would like to do a little bit more tree work, especially the trees. The trees that they have left are much closer to the house. They're up at the very limit of the 100-foot buffer. They are definitely within reach of the house. So if they continue to want to do any tree work with those trees, that they should file a request for determination of applicability. And again, with the understanding that filing the application does not guarantee approval for for those tree removals. So with that, anybody has any questions?
Question for Ed, anyone?
Any response from the homeowner?
Yeah, I'm Kevin McCarthy. I'm the owner of Triple Crown Tree, ISA certified arborist.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? So the homeowner recently purchased this home, and the previous owner actually excavated that whole area with the bobcat before she bought it. So there was no like signs of it being an obvious wetland when we approached the property and started the tree work. So it was one of those things that Ed can attest to this. I've gone to conservation every single time. I've never tried to sneak around a corner. There was just no obvious signs of it being a wetland. So I really had no idea that that was a conservation land.
Thank you. Any other question from the commissioner to Ed? Louise?
So how long ago did the homeowner go in with a bobcat?
Before my customer bought, it was a previous owner.
How many years ago?
I have no idea, ma'am. Like I said, I've never been to the property until my customer hired me.
Okay,
It was definitely recent. You couldn't see any new growth coming up.
Well, my only point is, maybe I misunderstood. Didn't you take out some pretty big trees?
Yes.
So she didn't get those with the bobcat, right? Unless she's lived there for.
No, the previous owner before my client bought the house scraped up the area with the bobcat.
Yeah, and I'm just saying she must have done it a long time ago if you took out some sizable trees.
She scraped around.
If I could just to clarify, so the work that was done, all of this was done in the buffer. It was none of this was done in the wetland. So the wetland is still intact and viable. It was the buffer that was impacted. It was a previous homeowner for more than a year at least that did the earth moving portion of it. There were no. I mean, you can see that they've definitely moved dirt around. But again, the buffer itself is easily restored. We just have to get a plan to do that. The homeowner that we're talking about today, Ms. Goodentrell, she had nothing to do with any of the bobcat work. There were no trees taken down as a result of the bobcat work. The previous homeowner was for whatever reason was trying to scrape the earth, the surface of the earth. But they were two separate issues, two different homeowners.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Any other questions for Ed? Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement order as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Ern,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Dangney.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you. The second enforcement order is Bruce Sapphire Family LP and Robert A. Mikens and Ling Chai, 405 Seawick Avenue, Austinville, maps 138, parcel 024. Failure to request a certificate of compliance, SC3-3843. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this one was over on 405 Seaview Avenue in Osterville. This has had a little bit of several issues in the past. There was one previous enforcement order that was filed for this property. With the same homeowners back in 2018. The 2018 enforcement order was to remove a lamp post and or light fixture and utility box that was located in the dune itself, very near the beach. That work was done. They removed the light pole and everything, but there were also an outstanding order of conditions at the time. It had expired in about 6 months prior to the enforcement order. So you can see that this property had some work, and an order opened up. It was issued on 2001. It was extended 3 times, plus it benefited from the first tolling period between 2008 2012. For a grand total of 13 years of extension, which brought the deadline or the expiration date for that order to late December 2017. Martin, when he had done the enforcement order in 2018, also asked that the COC be requested. The COC was the one portion of the enforcement order that was not followed through with. That has to do with the fact that some of the work that was done, there was mitigation that was required. The mitigation was actually more in the form of restoration to a portion of the wetland that you can see that takes up a huge section of this property, as well as the 2 neighboring properties. So unfortunately, that restoration mitigation work was not done. The rest of the work under the order was done, included a pool and a new house and a new guest cottage and things of that nature. That was all done. Again, we're just waiting on they have not done the restoration portion of it. So at this point, the enforcement order that we're here today to discuss compels them to start moving toward the process of requesting a certificate of compliance. I would think that certificate of compliance will have to be denied, at least temporarily. And probably a second enforcement order is going to have to be issued in order to allow them to do the work of the restoration work that they ultimately had to do or were supposed to have done, back while that order was still valid up through 2017. So this is going to be a work in progress, but this first stage is just to compel the homeowner to start the process for achieving a certificate of compliance for SC 3843. There will be other issues that are coming up with that, but for now, we're just asking that they file the certificate of compliance request by January 10th, and then we'll have to start sorting what needs to be done and what needs to be permitted through the enforcement process, so they can achieve that full compliance and receive their certificate of compliance for that project. That's all I have for this one.
Thank you, Ed. What is the homeowner response to your request?
Well, they have, again, as I said, it's like they have been asked on several different occasions by Martin, by Darcy, and myself to get this done. That's why we're at this point. They now understand that in order for them to be able to move forward with any other projects on site, that they're going to have to address the situation. And I've spoken with John O'Day. He understands the process that we're going to need to take in order for them to do that restoration. So I think they're committed. I had just spoken to John about that just late last week, and so at some point I will. I have not heard back from him and what his conversations with the homeowner have been, but I think they understand now that in order for them to move forward with any other project at that site, and that site has some issues that are going to have to be resolved. They have to do this first, so I think they're willing to do that work.
Thanks, Ed. Any questions for Ed from the commissioner? None? Could I have a motion to approve the enforcement as written?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sabadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney,
Aye.
that's unanimous.
Thank you. We have two RDAs. The first one is the Beach Club renovation of existing loading dock and driveway. Replace makeup air handler, replaced it on the existing slab patio. That's 27 Long Beach Road, Centerville, as shown in the assessors map 206 parcel 016. Benjamin?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. Thank you very much for, I'm sorry, I broke up for a second. You want me to present the outline of the project?
Sure.
Thanks for taking the time to meet with me today. We are looking at making some changes over there to increase the flow for the parking area. One second here. Sorry, there's construction in the background and I couldn't hear you, so I just had to ask them to stop. I knew my timing wasn't going to be so good.
Can you share the drawing, or do you need Ed to share the drawing?
One more time?
Can you share the drawing, or do you want our Ed to share the drawing for you as you're talking about the projects?
Yeah, if you could have yours, that'll be great. Thanks, Ed.
Ed, can you share the drawing? Thank you.
Oh, sorry,
Nope,
that's the wrong
this
project.
This is a different one. Here we go. Go ahead, Ben. Yep.
Great, thank you so much. So the highlighted in yellow over there is the relocated driveway. And it's superimposed over the sweeping kind of shape of the existing one. And that's where I spray painted the white on the ground. The other scope of work is on the right-hand side, within the existing fence work. There's, it's called like the drying courtyard off the men's locker room. To the right with your mouse, and a little more to the right where it says the word lattice. So between that staircase from a little more to the right, I apologize, right there, right below your, there you go, that lattice. So in that courtyard there's a lattice work fence about 8 feet tall around there. And it's just a concrete storage yard where there's an exit door from the men's locker room. And then there's an egress emergency stair that goes up to the second floor rooftop walkway to get out of this the panic bar door upstairs. So right on that courtyard there is where we were proposing to locate a makeup air handler. So it is a intake fan to bring fresh air into the kitchen. It's 130 inches long by 44 inches wide and about 40 inches tall, and it's just going to sit on the concrete that's already there. So it's not any new disturbance. It's going on the existing concrete. And the goal of the relocated driveway in the existing in the highlighted area, and there I can pull up my other drawings and then try to share them. Sorry. There's a new loading dock ramp that's being built right in that area. So you should have a page in the application that shows the profile of it. But right now the trucks back up to as close as they can get to a concrete pad on the front of the building, and then they run a ramp off of that, an aluminum plank off of that. And the idea here is we're going to have a wooden ramp built out over the tar there that goes down to grade, and that will be used to get to the new 4-foot wide doorway to bring product in.
Thanks, Ben. Any questions from the commissioner? Louise?
When I was there, I saw your marks, the spray paint. I didn't see any stakes. And in the area toward the water and beach, in your drawing, you've got several small things, but proposed boardwalks, proposed ramps, proposed boardwalks, and boardwalk expansion. I didn't see any markings there. They're small.
You know what? That drawing, what I did was I just showed the new work that was proposed. That drawing was actually produced years ago for the work that did get approved and then was completed. So those were old work notes. And I'm sorry that was confusing. The site plan, the new work is what I highlighted and painted.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Thanks, Louise. Anyone else? Any other questions for Ben? Seeing none. Oh, any public comment on this one?
None. No, sir.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn.
Thumbs up.
Aye.
Lee. Lee,
Aye.
Tangy,
Aye.
it's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
The second RDA is N.M. and Leo B. Smith. To construct a bathroom additions at 31 Old Shore Road, Contuit, as shown in the Assessors Map 035, Parcel 072. Thomas.
Yes, thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and we've been working on this property for a few years. The owners want to put on a small addition on the inland side of the house. I will show our plans to you now, if I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you. This is just the USGS map, locus map. So you can see we're at the near the center of Cotuit in this area. And of course, Old Shore Road is a one way. The property is right in here. These two houses right here. One is right down right down on the bank, and the other is up a little higher, up toward the top of the bank. The flood zone comes up onto the bank. So you see we have here the two structures. This flood zone is a velocity zone along this direction here, and the other than that, above that is a flood zone X, all the way landward. Top of the coastal bank is in this location. Of course, the slope reduces here, and then the bank comes back up again. And so we have the setbacks of 50 feet. The 50-foot coastal bank offset is right through here, and the 100 feet back from the salt marsh is right through here. This house has been here a long time. The last time we did work was where this addition was added in this location. And now on the back side of the house, they want to put in this small, it's just a first floor bathroom addition, size of basically 9.5 by 11 feet, 107 square feet in this location here. And a few fir trees, non-native fir trees, and a couple oak trees, an oak tree here and a linden tree here. I think these two have already been approved for removal. This one does not actually have to come down for this project, but this oak tree here and these fir trees will have to come down, to construct this. That's what's being proposed at the moment. I can take this down or leave it up, however you would like.
I'll leave it up there. Tom, what is the revised date on this plan?
The revised date is October 6th.
Okay, thank you. Any question from the commission on this? None. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date October the 6th as a negative determination?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Angie,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Byrne,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That is unanimous.
Good luck, Tom.
All right, thank you very much.
Abstain.
Oh, there's
Pete.
Pete.
Here.
I didn't see you join us, Pete.
I just saw his name show up.
I will put him on at 4 o'clock even.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep. We have three NOIs this afternoon. The first one is Putnam Property LLC to construct a balcony, 2 patio area, and a flagpole at 20 Scallop Path, Austerville, as shown in the assessors map 070 parcel 010-002. Chuck, sorry.
That's for Matt.
Good afternoon,
Oh,
John
John.
O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. I'm here for this one representing the applicants. I will bring up the plan for us. This is a 3+ acre parcel on Oyster Harbors abutting the Sepuit River. It's one of many parcels that's owned by this family, been owned by this family for probably over 50 years. We have an existing dwelling on this site that's, according to the assessors, dates to 1770. And we're looking to do some very modest improvements to it. There is a 6-foot balcony proposed off of the back of the house. And then there's a brick patio that's beyond the 50-foot buffer, but still within the 100. And again, on the more landward side of the house, there's sort of a covered entry, and looking to do a little brick patio work in front of that to kind of connect it down into the garden area. And as was mentioned, there's a flagpole proposed in the lawn. We have provided the buffer zone calculations. I had a chance to speak with staff on Friday. They had some concerns with some of the notes and mitigation plans, etc. So this that I'm presenting to you now is a revised plan. Again, just the mitigation has changed, and I'll walk you through what we've been up to based on those discussions. first of all, Ed was who I was speaking with, thought it was important that in the mitigation area, instead of trying to, get the existing grass to turn into a meadow, let's just rip it out. So we've called for the existing turf to be removed, and we've called for a New England, coastal meadow mix to be put down into what will become the meadow areas. But we've trimmed that up short of what will be the planting areas so that there's no, confusion over what should be mowed, what's plants, what's totally naturalized. We did make the meadow a once a year mowing, where I think before it had been listed as twice a year. And on the planting types, there was a few plants. I think we had like a bearberry and a huckleberry and a sweet fern before that Ed was a little concerned with having too close to a meadow. Some of those smaller plants may have a tendency to accidentally get mowed down once in a while. So we've eliminated those. We've done additional beach plum, and we've switched in some inkberry and Virginia rose, some things that won't be mistaken for meadow areas. And we also added 2 cedar trees into that mix. And so hopefully, I believe this plan date, I can confirm that for you.
October the 7th.
I believe you. October the 7th is this revision, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about it.
Thank you, John. Any questions from the commissioner for John? John to John.
Hi, John. Hey, I saw that there was no request. We've got some guidelines, right, Tommy, on lighting for flagpoles. Don't we have some guidelines on that, Ed, somewhere? And is there a request to light the flag? That's a pretty minor question.
We are aware of the flagpole guidelines. We made the owner aware of that downlighting. They said they have no intention of lighting it at this time. If there is such a thing as a standard condition about if there is ever future plans for lighting, it should be these downward halo flagpole. We'd love it. And if you don't want to talk about it and just say it's not lit, then that's okay too.
Get back for a revised plan if you had to do it or something. I'd leave it up to Darcy or Ed or whoever knows more about that than I do.
Thanks, John. I mean, if the applicant has not requested for one, why include it? So
I agree, Tom.
Any other question from the commissioner? 10:18. Any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. John, we don't have the DEP number. Am I right?
You are right.
So we'll need a continuance for this. It would be like October the 17th. Would that be okay with you?
Yes. Yep, that would be fine.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve this project with the revised plan date of October the 7th? And we need a continuance date to October the 17th, waiting for the issuance of the DEP number only.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Sampu,
Aye.
Agnew,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kern,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck, John.
Thank you very much.
The second ROI is Hamilton Shapely. Proposed detached 2-car garage with attics above and at 21 Forest Street, Hyannisport, as shown on the Assessors Map 266, Parcel 006-002. Matt?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. For the record, Matthew Eddy, professional engineer with Baxter Engineering and Surveying, representing Tony Shepley, the applicant, on the NOI that's submitted before you. If I could, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, I believe this is fairly straightforward. The address, as you stated, is 21 Forest Street in West Hyannisport. The lot area is approximately 1.75 acres. It's lot is already developed with the house, pool, driveway, etc. What's being proposed with the
sorry, Eddie, your plan is not showing up.
it's not showing up. Hold on. Yep.
Matt, while you're looking for that, is my understanding that this is what's our jurisdiction here?
It's just a floodplain, 100-year floodplain, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and that's what you're seeing in the green line here. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Sorry about that. Just so you know, too, we were having some Comcast issues. We got kicked off, so if I get kicked off, that's what's happening. So anyways, what you're seeing here is the line that I've highlighted in green is the 100-year floodplain. So basically half of the proposed structure, so there's a proposed detached garage being proposed in this application. A little bit less than half of it actually falls within the floodplain. Again, green line defines the floodplain. What I've shaded here in brown is what falls within the floodplain. We're not doing any other filling in the floodplain. The construction is going to be for the foundation of that structure, just foundation walls down to grade and below grade for frost. And then the slab will be built up at elevation 13 so that it's level with this existing access way that's here now. So literally the only impact within the floodplain area is what you see shaded in brown. There will be no other adjacent fill to that structure. Again, I believe that really kind of hits the highlights of the projects we've identified in our narrative, how we believe this meets the performance standards, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Do you have the DEP number?
We are just checking. They were supposed to issue it today. I just asked for my office to check to see if it got issued.
Okay. So we haven't received one yet, so we might need a continuance for this.
Yeah.
Louise.
I noticed that there are a lot of really big, beautiful trees that are going to have to go. Do you have any plans for putting other trees in?
No, there was no replanting mitigation proposed, as I didn't think any was necessary.
It's not necessary. I just wondered if you had thought about that at all.
Yeah. No, we did not.
Thanks, Louise. Any other questions from the commissioner? None? Channel 18, any public comment on this one?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motions to approve this project with as submitted but need a continuous? Eddie, October the 17th, is that good? Matt,
is it?
I'm sorry. I was just checking my office to see if there's a number that was issued. They're trying to find out right now. I'm sorry. Was there a question asked? I missed it.
do you, if I continues to 17, just waiting for the DEP number, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay.
I was hoping we were going to get lucky and that would number, but it didn't sound like it.
Could I have a motion to approve this project as submitted and with the continuance to October the 17th, waiting for the issuance of the DEP number?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Byrne,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Lee,
Aye.
Agni,
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Good luck, Matt. The next one is yours too. The third NOI is William and Mary Beth Eddy. Constructions of a single-family house, carriage house, pool, driveways, and associated underground utilities at 0 Daffodil named Barnstable as shown on the Census Maps 237 parcel 017-004. There is a DEP number for this. So, Matt.
Yeah. Yes. First question, Matt, is there a relationship here?
This is actually my brother.
Well, you better win this one.
I told them I would help them. They were having, so yes, it's my brother. So hopefully I did a good job for him. I hope you think so. So for the record, Matthew Eddy, professional engineer with Baxter Engineering and Surveying, representing William and Mary Beth Eddy, the applicant on the NOI submitted before you today. As was just stated, the address it's 0 Daffodil, which has now been assigned 6 Daffodil Lane as well. So we've identified it both ways just so that everything was clear and straight for the record. If I could I share my screen again?
Yes, please.
Okay, can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
All right, great. And just zoom in a little here. The lot area, which this is Daffodil Lane that comes in off of 6A in Barnstable Village. This is the end of the cul-de-sac. This is the subject lot here. It's approximately 1.5 acres. There is currently, it's an undeveloped parcel. There is some clearing in the back here and some old gravel drives and so forth that are out there, but there's no development, no structures, etc. The resource on the lot is an isolated vegetated wetland. This project was actually before this commission in 2018 for the creation of the 3-lot subdivision and the creation of Daffodil Lane. And that is that isolated wetland that you're seeing is from that review that was before you previously. So what's being proposed is to develop the lot with a single family use. Just going to zoom in over here. This is the single family dwelling. This will be a detached garage and then a pool area here. We then have, this is the existing Daffodil Lane that's constructed. What I've then shaded here in kind of this orange color, this is the driveway access to the back of the lot. So as you can see, I've highlighted in this pinkish color, that's your 50-foot buffer and your 100-foot buffer, so 50 and 100. And again, this green line here is your wetland line that's closest to this proposed driveway. It did strive to keep as much of this development out of and beyond the 100-foot buffer. You can see all of the house, the detached garage, et cetera, are all outside of conservation jurisdiction. It's just a small corner of the pool and the end of the driveway here. Then obviously the main part of this filing, I'll call it, is the driveway access to get back to this upland portion. And this is the back northeast portion of the lot. This is the only access to get back to that upland. So we have proposed this driveway. We have kept it tight to the property line on the easterly side. But with that, this driveway portion that I've shaded here is through the 50-foot buffer. So we've asked for and are seeking a waiver of the 50-foot buffer policy for that access. We've designed this driveway so that we're coming down at about a 10% grade to get down to existing elevations close to as quickly as we could so that it minimizes the amount of fill and the impact in the 50-foot buffer. We've utilized 2-to-1 fill slopes here, again, also to minimize the footprint and the impact. We've designed the cross slope section on this driveway so that it slopes away from the wetland to the east. This part of the Daffodil Lane, this is a stormwater management area, and then you see, zoom in a little bit here, you see that those 2 light gray lines, that's the existing pipe outfall that outfalls here. So that will continue to outfall along the kind of toe slope of fill. And we've designed this so that there's a small kind of 4-bay area that's created through the driveway fill and then the natural topography. We've designed this so that it actually creates a little 4-bay for water quality. We've put in a beehive grate, which is about 1 foot above the bottom elevation here. So it will allow water to be pre-treated and infiltrate here. And then larger storm events will pond and then pass through this beehive grate an outfall through this pipe here to a small stone pad here for stabilization. So we've done everything we can to design this driveway as tight as we can with a minimal footprint as we can. The driveway is only 10 feet wide with a little bit of a shoulder. That's about as narrow as I'd want to go for safe access. So I believe we've done everything that we can to minimize that. We're then proposing to also, after the driveway is constructed, the side slopes of the driveway will be revegetated with a wetland buffer meadow mix so that it's all revegetated. So the only area that's left that's not and it's I don't want to say original condition, but that's not in a undisturbed condition would just be the driveway surface itself. So all the side slopes and everything will be restored so that it provides buffer functions, provides habitat, provides stabilization, etc. And what I've tried to show here in this kind of green shading is what we're keeping for the buffer area here. We've also expanded out here, pushing everything as far to the northeast as we could, and actually added or extended the buffer outside of the 50 and maintaining as much as we could outside here. It's probably at its closest point is about 70 feet. And there's an additional it's a little over 5,000 square feet of vegetated buffer that's maintained here as well outside of the 50-foot buffer. Again, in our submittal and our narrative, we identified the performance standards and identified how we believe we are meeting those. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Angela?
This was probably before my time, but did I hear correctly? This was subdivided with approval, but with no access to this other than running a driveway through the 50-foot buffer. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
That's correct.
Thanks, Angela. Bill?
Yeah, I visited this site, and when I drove in Daffodil Lane and got down to the end of Daffodil Lane where there's kind of a circle, you can kind of see a circle off to the left there in the upper left, and you can just drive down Daffodil Lane and you can get down there. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, this is where the house is going to be built, and there's a stake and it says corner of swimming pool, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm at the right place. And I'm going, wait a minute, there's a road that already goes down there, and it's it's a dirt road, and look at that, and it's undeveloped. It's there it is. Now, in studying that, I thought, okay, so you don't own that road, and yet you're putting a new road right through woodland. I mean, it's hardcore woodland. And it's a woodland that is, the whole area is sort of very adjacent to the very large marsh, the Barnstable marsh. And I mean, there's a lot of undeveloped land out there. And you're just mowing down for, I don't know how long that is. It's got to be 100 yards or thereabouts, maybe longer. And it's just plowing right through these woods when there's a road, and the road gets you all the way down to the end. And now that's a tricky one because you don't own the land. But I guess my question is, I'm interested in, and if this is your brother, you may have the skinny on what's going on. Why can't how much that driveway? Excuse me.
The driveway that you're referring to is on this. It's on another lot here.
Yeah.
So that's not part of the action, the legal access to this lot, as this commission has approved previously, I believe. So, as far as access to the upland portion on this lot, this commission has typically provided and allowed where it's only means of access, legal access on its lot. It allows the driveway itself, and that's why we've kept this driveway to a minimum, kept it as close to the property line as we could, and then we also, obviously, put a radius in it to bring the driveway and get it outside of the 50-foot buffer as quickly as possible. So I think the driveway that you're referring to is is off the lot. It's not part of this lot, and it's not an allowable legal access for the upland portion of this lot, regardless of it being.
Wait, this is just a question. I'm just thinking as a conservationist, just as a conservationist. I understand that you don't own it, but tell me, I should think that you could get a right of way. I mean, if you're spending all of that money on 100+ yard road going right through the woods with all the engineering and yada yada, that's an expensive thing. And a right of way, you have a road, and the road already goes down to where the house is. I guess I'm just thinking, and again, it's not like I or the commission has the authority to demand that you get a right of way, and it's illegal. I'm just thinking it just seems like, how come you? What is it? Has anyone explored getting a right of way from the landowner?
It's not anything that they're interested. Yeah, they're not interested in doing that. I mean, as this commission probably knows, and there's been plenty of projects that we've been involved in, even when it's not part of conservation jurisdiction. We're just, when you get into the shared easements for access and so forth on driveways, it creates issues with homeowners down the road. I mean, we've dealt with so many projects where homeowners are coming back in after the fact and and having issues with the shared driveways. So that's what's going on there. They don't want to have a shared driveway access. So.
One last question. Was a shared access even explored with the owners of that parcel that has the road that goes directly back? It's an undeveloped dirt road. Did anyone ever approach them and say, "Hey, we'll give you $100,000"?
It was not part of what they wanted to do.
Go to the owners of the other property and
they didn't,
just request.
Yep, they don't want to have the shared access, the shared driveway access.
Bill, we have seen a lot of the shared driveway initially approved, and then a few years later they'll come back and ask for his own driveway to his property. And for the past, if I remember right, we always allow an access on their parcels to the upland side to the house. So, Luis?
What is the surface of a driveway?
The surface coming down the steep slope portion, we pave that as discussed with Darcy, and I know with this commission on previous projects as well, where you have a steep slope like that, a gravel surface is going to tend to erode. You're going to have sediment transport, et cetera. So paving that surface coming down and then stabilizing the side slopes, that prevents the additional erosion and sediment potential. And again, we've cross-sloped that driveway so away from the wetland area to that small forebay area, so that it goes through some water quality pre-treatment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, one thing that I remember that Darcy mentioned, that the hay bale line, you should double that hay bale lines during the establish of the grass on the slope.
Absolutely, I agree. We can make that a condition of the plan, and I'll add a note to the plan to that effect as well.
Yeah. Pete?
Yeah, so we actually have impervious surface. Again, it's being sloped away from this wetland resource. But I also have a question in terms of, as a fair amount of square footage in extraordinarily close proximity to the actual resource area. I wonder what kind of mitigation there is for this. Can you enlighten me?
Yeah, I mean, we had defined in the narrative to that effect, the 50-foot buffer is fully vegetated. If I can, I'm going to bring my screen back up if that's okay.
Sure.
So the 50-foot buffer is all vegetated, so there's no area to mitigate. We've then, the numbers are, and again, I put them in the narrative, but it's about 2,000 square feet, I believe it is, of permanent impact for this surface when all is said and done. So what we tried to do here was expand kind of thinking about, hey, if there was a cleared buffer and we, could mitigate and expand, beyond. So we did that with maintaining the buffer even further here. So this is about over 5,500 square feet of additional buffer area outside the 50-foot that has been preserved. And that's what from a offset standpoint, from a mitigation standpoint, of that, along with the replanting of the side slopes with a meadow mix, so that it again restores habitat, etc.
Sounds good, Matt. Sounds good. Let me just ask just a tiny little follow-up. Will there be a demarcation for all this extra buffer beyond the 50 that is being offered?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that. We can put in, the standard demarcation that the commission requires, whether it be via stone or via single rail fence, etc. Yep.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question from the commissioner? Seeing none. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
I have something to say.
Who's this?
My name is Rebecca St. Ange. I am currently on an iPhone. I'm not on the screen. My husband, Matthew Borden, and I abut the property, and I just had a couple concerns I wanted to address.
Go ahead.
So we purchased our home next to, I'm assuming is the original home that the Eddies built and owned in December of 2016. And a couple of the concerns that I have with the project of the size of the house, it's fairly substantial. And what one of the committee members has already mentioned is a significant natural resource in the Great Marsh of Barnstable. It's pretty substantial what they want to do down there, and adding the pool in is also a concern. So they are going to have to basically, bulldoze, steamroll woodlands for the access. There's a reason the neighbors probably don't want to give them access to that type of a project. That's just my observation. Another concern that I have is that they have not been really good stewards of that property down at the bottom there. Like, we call it the bottom because we walk down, our property is directly adjacent to it, and we walk down into the Great Marsh and to the Audubon property all the time. And it's, it's just not a very well-kept site. There was, debris of tarps and chairs and things for quite some time. And there you could see the leavings of what was the original, looked like the berm or the bale for the original project. Another concern I have is that there is a small yet very substantial stand of Japanese knotweed, which, as everybody knows, is an invasive species, and it can get in and under foundations and disrupt the whole surroundings. And I know that there is a substantial mitigation process that goes along with that. That stand has crept onto our property at 2360 Main Street. And last but not least, I want to address the fact that there is some type of a black corrugated hose pipe that enters our property from the property that the house that the Eddies used to live in, which I believe is the two Daffodil. That was never taken care of. I don't know why that hose is feeding into our property, why it's been there all this time. I'm assuming the time they built their property. And those are my concerns, and I'd just like to see a little bit more due diligence before there's any approval on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The only application in front of us is 0 Daffodil Lane. So if your black pipe is on the other property address, you have to discuss with the owner on that parcel. So
I understand, but to me that just goes to doing the due diligence on being a good keeper of the land, a good steward of the land. It shouldn't be on somebody else's property if it's attached to your house.
I'm not saying that it should be. I'm not saying that the black hole should be on your parcel. They should not be on your parcel. Okay, so.
Right. It just goes to me, it just goes to the history of the stewardship of the land, which is poor.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to a revised plan showing the double layer of the silk fence and the demarcations on the proposed mitigation area?
Hay bales, I think, Tom, hay bales.
Oh, hay bales, sorry.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Abadieli,
Aye.
Foster,
aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
No.
Lee,
Aye.
Agnew,
No.
Lampu,
Aye. No, abstain. I'm going to abstain.
motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good luck, Matt.
Thank you all very much. Have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We have one under advisement. Park City Wind LLC proposed installation of two 275 kilowatts submarine electric transmission cable in Nantucket Sound and onshore duck bank system at Creekview Beach and 2 Short Beach Road, Sandyville, as shown on the assessors map 206 parcel 015 and assessors maps 206 parcel 044. And this is a taken under this NOI is taken under the advisement on September the 9th, and the quorum was all commissioner. The applicant has agreed and extended the time to October the 17th, even though today is 16th, today is 10, but that would allow the staff and have enough time to issue the order and conditions. I just want to emphasize that many of the public concerns are outside of our conservation jurisdictions, and the applicants need to secure all the permits and approval, including the Energy Siting Board and the Town of Barnstable, before any construction can start. And with that, I want to read that we draft the condition, and thank you for the commissioner's comment from the last discussion. So I revised the draft conditions as follows. Number 1, the applicant shall comply with all permits issued by the Town of Barnstable, Cape Cod Commissions, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, federal government, and any other regional and local jurisdictions. 2, the applicant shall develop the definition and establish of an exclusion zone in coordinations with the Town of Barnstable's harbor master. The applicant shall provide a copy of the final exclusion zones to the Conservation Commissions. 3, the applicant's contractor shall provide written construction protocol for horizontal directional drilling, HDD, and micro-tunneling to the conservation agents for review and approval for each installation's method. The construction protocol shall include dewatering, stormwater pollution prevention plan, contingency plan, including spill preventions and emergency response actions for each installation's method, and must be submitted 4 weeks prior to the pre-construction meeting. 4, the applicant shall conduct 2 separate pre-construction site meetings, one for HDD and one for micro-tunneling, with the conservation agents, Department of Public Work, harbor master for the Sandville River only, applicant's projects engineer and applicant's contractor at least 4 weeks prior to the start of any site work on each locations. 5, the applicant shall provide the final design of the micro-tunneling and its routes to the DBW for review and approval. The micro-tunnel shall be at least 10 feet below the river bottoms. The final design of the micro-tunnel shall be submitted to the Conservation Division for the record. If there is a change of the micro-tunneling alignment, and the applicant shall submit a revised plan to the Conservation Commissions for approval. 6, no HDD construction activity shall occur between April 1st and August 31st as determined by the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, issued by the NHESP on April 1st, 2022. This is to avoid and minimize the noise impacts to piping plovers during the breeding seasons. 7, no microtunnel construction activity shall occur between May 15th to October the 1st. The applicant shall coordinate with harbor master during the microtunneling installation underneath the Center River in order to mitigate any potential hazards to navigations. 8, the applicant shall comply with all conditions imposed by the National Heritage and Endangered Species Programs to avoid adverse effects on rare species habitat, including but not limited to the compliance with the final version of the piping culvert protections as approved by NHTSP. 9, the applicant shall minimize the amount of clay solids released during constructions by switching to water-only solution prior to servicing on the seabed and river bottom, and close monitoring of all drilling and hydraulic pressures and return volumes. The applicant shall deploy the best management practices for HDD as per Massachusetts 401 water quality certifications permit condition 17 issued by the Mass DEP, and microtunneling installations for these permit conditions number 16 under the water quality certifications. 10, the applicant should provide a final version of the reports for benthic habitat monitoring programs, the New England Wind Fishery Monitoring Plan, and the Cable Monitoring Plan under the permit condition number 24 for the water quality certifications to the conservation commissions. As a side note, this cable monitoring report has all the methods of doing it and the frequency of doing it through the life of the cable. Number 10, the applicant shall provide a monitoring report for the electromagnetic field EMF level along the cable route offshore and onshore for 3 years after the cable are energized. The monitoring report shall record the electricity in kilowatts being transmitted and the corresponding EMF level, electric field in kilowatts per meter, and magnetic field in mg, microjoule gas. There's a few subsections here. 1, the electric level shall include the normal operating level, the max day operating level, and the peak hour operating level. 2nd, the monitoring frequency shall be at least once per quarter. 3rd, for HDD, the monitoring location shall be 1, near shore or onshore, and onshore, once every 500 feet starting from 10 feet below water, and 2, offshore, once every quarter miles between the Nantucket Sound and the Creekview Beach up to 10 feet water depths. 3rd, for microtunneling, the monitoring location shall be jacking shaft at 2 Short Beach Road and two locations at the bottom of the river along the Creekview Beach, and 3, receiving shafts on Creekview Beach Road. The next point is the monitoring data shall be taken on the water surface or the ground on the cable route, except as specified that we talk about on the Creekview Beach River would be at the bottom of the river. The last one is the applicant's contractor shall provide the monitoring protocol to the Conservation Commission for a review and approval at least 4 weeks prior to the monitoring activity to begin. 12, the applicant shall retain a certified ecological restoration professional as the consultant for the coastal dune restoration work and provide annual reports for 3 years. 13, the applicant shall submit a copy of the surveyed as-built plan showing the offshore route and the depths and the microtunneling route within 1 year after the construction is completed to the Conservation Commissions. Those are my points. I see Bill has his hand up. Bill?
I think that these revisions you've made are great, much, much, much better than the last time. Good job. But I have under number 11 regarding the EMF monitoring, I have three points. 1 point very simply, your 1, 2, 3, 4, your fifth point down. It says the monitoring data shall be taken on water surface or ground on the cable route installed. And knowing that the farther you get away from the cable, the lower the radiation, if you will. Doing it at the surface, especially if you're, in like 20 feet of water or what have you, and the thing is buried in the substrate. I think that doing it on the water surface seems like kind of, not rigorous enough to see what's going on and the impacts to fish, benthics, what have you. I think it should say on the water surface and the ground or on the substrate, and say I wouldn't give it a choice. I would be wanting to monitor on the right on the ground on the substrate. That's point one. The second recommendation that I have is that on your third bullet on that EMF monitoring, when it refers to, it says the monitoring location shall be one near shore and onshore, every 500 feet starting from 10 feet below the water. I found that hard to understand. I think you're referring to going from the beach, from essentially the point of median high tide, probably. I'm thinking you want to start at the beach where the water starts, and then I think you're saying, and then, starting from that point, starting from the point of median high tide to a point where water depths equal or exceed 10 feet. So you're like going out into the ocean 10 feet. So I think that would better clarify your monitoring range in that near shore or onshore. That's my second point. And the third point is that if you're monitoring EMF, and again, I think it should be on the ground. You can do it on the surface, but I think you want to do it at the substrate level, right, or on the ground. If you're starting at the beach and it's every 500 feet, essentially you're only getting like one measurement on the beach, because people are not going to be, at Craigville Beach, people don't go out beyond 500 feet. So you're getting like one measurement. And I felt like, yeah, I get going 500 feet out to where it's 10 feet deep, but in that initial beach area, a single spot measurement seems a bit light. So I would encourage maybe once every 500 feet out to 500 and wording it something along those lines. Those are the only three changes that I really recommend. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Pete?
Yeah, so I'm going to admit ignorance here. I have no idea as to either the human impact or the biological impact to organisms of EMF on us. Are we as humans going to be exposed to levels? There's got to be information out there, because this is not new technology. This is, as I said early on, Denmark's been doing this for a long time. Is there any scientific evidence that can educate me to say that, yes, we need it at the benthos, surface of the benthos, or is it perfectly okay at the surface of the ocean? So sort of lacking this best available science, I myself can't judge compared to the fears of some of our citizens versus sort of, I respect the best value that science, the best information that science can give us. Secondly, I am interested, and I don't know because of my ignorance here, are the restrictions, or I should say, are the monitoring, or is the technology available to Avangrid to satisfactorily address these 13 or so conditions that we have? I don't know. I don't know what's available out there. I have no idea if Avangrid's been doing this in multiple sites and say, yeah, this is no problem at all. I lack understanding. I'm ignorant in this, and I don't want to be imposing work on individuals that is no reason to be doing it, because it's not a problem anywhere on our planet. So I got a dog in the background, so sorry. I would love some of that information. Maybe my other commissioners have done some research on this, but I'm ignorant. So I would love to get some education.
So, Pete, and for the public information, I have been studying all this information for the last few weekends and stuff like that. As far as I know, with all the information that I'm seeing, there is no definitive answer in terms of what the health level is for the EMF, for human exposure or anything like that. Everything that I have seen is called a guidelines. So it's all developed by different associations, trade associations, and so forth. That's why I think it's interesting to trying to get the monitoring data, but I don't want to link to any kind of level per se at this point.
Okay, so I trust that the monitoring that we're asking is technologically fairly straightforward to do. But if we have guidelines and there's no upper or lower limits, my question is, and Avangrid should probably know this, the levels that we are expecting to see at our monitoring levels, whether it's the surface of the ocean or whether it's at the bunkhouse, is there any evidence out there that's deleteriously affecting either, human health or health of organisms, clams, for God's sakes? So,
Tom, I'd like to respond to him if I could. I will give him some information if I can.
Okay, Bill, go ahead.
Pete, three things that I found. One is that if you look at EMF radiation under the EPA, and you go to the EPA documents, and you go searching through that stuff, what you'll find is they'll say that there's no known clear adverse effect to health, if you will. But they also have a sentence or two that says, but the information is limited and that there is a need for more research. If you go to the Institute of Health, I want to say, National Institute of Health, you'll see the same thing. Well, it looks like, maybe there's probably not a problem, but there's not a lot of research and we really should research it more. And if you look at fisheries information, I can't remember where it was, and I would confess, I think it was something that was a very reliable thing sent by one of the opponents to the windmills. And it talked about, and it was a link to something, and it dealt with the adverse effects on sharks and rays. Sharks and rays basically use electroreception. They have special sensors, and they do a lot of hunting based on electricity. And what is known is that indeed sharks and skates will become blinded in that sense in hunting by electromagnetic radiation. And there's some pretty good information that says, well, yeah, but to me, just thinking as a PhD fisheries biologist, I've been through all the ichthyology courses, advanced blah, blah. I'm thinking, okay, so a shark coming into a field of EMF is probably, very likely, not going to be affected. In terms of hunting, it probably is going to go, whoa, I'm in the dark, if you will. And they're going to not be able to be effective in this very narrow band. For all we know, there'll be more clams growing right in close to the pipeline or the cable rather, because the sharks and the rays can't get in at the mollusks because they're like blinded by this thing. So I'm thinking, this is not a significant impact. I'm not concerned. But the point is that there are impacts, there's uncertainties. and so therefore having some limited monitoring. I mean, just a little. I mean, as Charlie McLaughlin said at the last hearing, he goes, well, there's always some weird, we can't even foresee at risk. We ought to at least have a handle on. Well, this is something where the Institute of Health and the EPA would say, well, we need more research. Well, it'd be nice to have a little information that said, here's what the EMF is radiating, and then maybe if additional research goes, oh, look out, we don't want it to be at X level, we'll have some handle on, well, now we know what it is. And it's not something that's going to break, hopefully, the pocketbook of Avangrid. It's not a lot of work to measure EMF on the ground and on the surface.
May I say something quickly?
No.
Oh,
This is only the discussion for the commissions. Please.
Not right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
George.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, I really agree a lot with what Bill's saying. I'm sure we will hear Avangrid's comments on how difficult or not difficult this monitoring we're proposing might be. But I think it's good to have a handle on that for sure. Just one minor thing, Tom. I think under 11, and it's your 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet point under 11. I think you meant to say at the bottom of the river along Centerville River, not Craigville River.
Sorry.
Okay.
Didn't see
Thank
that.
you.
Louise.
Yeah, let's see. Along the lines that we've just been talking about in terms of there's nothing really definitive in terms of safety limits and so forth and so on, or what organisms are going to be affected, specifically humans. I think that we might want to have we're going to gather, in fact, this came about, I think, the last time we talked about your document, about what are the reaction limits. And obviously, at this point, there are none. But I think that I don't think it would be out of line to ask Avangrid to support us in providing expertise, not necessarily, in fact, I think not identified by them, but independently identified to look at these numbers and to say, are the differences significant even, let alone are they, something that should be reacted to. But that we have someone who knows what they're doing and is in touch and current with the science involved in this. Because I think it is important. I don't feel uncomfortable about the EMF effects and levels that are going to be present during this project. But I do think that the public has certainly expressed concern about it, and we ought to respond to it. And along those lines, going back to the first part of 11, you're proposing that these measurements be made for 3 years after the cables are energized. I think that's too short. I mean, the extreme was proposed earlier as being in perpetuity. I think that's maybe an overkill, but maybe we should say 5 years or 10 years, whatever the number, and then say, and then reconsidered, and whether or not it ought to be extended or it ought to be stopped. So I think 3 years is really too short. And I think that we ought to ask Avangrid to supply expertise defined by us in the form of somebody who really knows what they're talking about and is up to date with the technology. That's my say.
Thanks, Louise. John?
Yeah, I have a somewhat different opinion. I think that the monitoring reports we're being asked for are extensive, as I think Pete pointed out. I think that the 3 years after the startup is more than an adequate period of time. If there are concerns, when the monitoring report come in, certainly Darcy, the staff, could refer them to an appropriate agency that has much greater knowledge than us to evaluate any of those concerns. And I would expect that that would be done. That's how we traditionally handle those things. And I think that that's fine. I do think that when a certificate of compliance comes in, and it will have to come in, we could certainly examine those issues at the time before issuing a certificate of compliance. So I think some of the drafting changes that Bill suggested are valid. They're kind of minor drafting changes, but I really do think Bill raised a good point on some of those. So, you know, I am with those modifications okay with this, Tom. I think Tom has put in a tremendous amount of effort in this thing, studying these things far beyond anybody else. So I'm ready with those minor modifications to move forward with it. That's just my view. And plus the fact, by the way, we're at a time limit problem.
Thank you, John. With those comments and with Bill's comments, though, I'm making the following changes under the 11th. I think all the other parts seems to be fine under the 11th. The number 3, the bullet. For HDD, the monitoring location shall be near shore and onshore once every 250 feet. So that kind of doubling the number in terms of the monitoring locations. And this is from a location with the water 10 feet of water depth to the shore and then on upland side.
You should say the shore. You should, excuse me, you should say that, make that point from the point of like median high tide or whatever out to where the depths are, you know, that seems kind of vague. Thank you.
So from the mean low water line, let's call it, okay? And then the second part is the microtunnel. The monitoring locations shall be the jack shafts, and then the 2 locations at the bottom of the river along the Centerville River. That's my mistake. And then the 3 receiving shaft on the Creekview Beach Road. And then the next item is the monitoring data shall be taken on the water service and ground at the cable route installed. So I think that the changes that you guys have mentioned it. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just say something?
Go ahead.
Just getting back to something that John said, that if something seems out of whack, Darcy will contact the appropriate expert to find out if this is really important or significant. How is Darcy going to know if it's out of whack? This is
the answer to that
for us. I really think that we ought to have somebody who knows what they're doing looking at the data.
But your point is absolutely valid, but we don't have that expertise. Darcy at the time could certainly send those to somebody for their review.
Right.
But how do we know it's at the time?
Well, when she gets the monitoring report, she can.
You know, I mean, this is very new to us.
It is, but I don't know where that expertise is.
Yeah.
Is it possible to put in that last bullet where they're referring to monitoring protocol, you know, for review and approval? Is it possible to put a phrase in, you know, we're looking for a monitoring protocol where you somehow, and I'm making this up, you know, I haven't even thought about it, but it's like something that says with some, you know, some with I don't know, likely metrics to be, I don't know, present. I don't know, in something about providing the metrics that are normally used or something. Do you know what I mean? Have the monitoring plan provide some kind of information. You're looking for expert information. Maybe it might come out in the monitoring protocol where, this is what is known. There could be like a little introduction in their monitoring protocol that says, this is bad.
Bill, what happens if you said those monitoring reports should contain references to the industry standards, the then known industry standards? Would that work, Bill? Is that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
okay.
Industry standards, or are there governmental standards? What's the difference?
Right now, according to what Tom said, that there's like generally industry acceptance standards, but those are, like you said before, it needs more study. I mean, we're all struggling with that issue that Louise is raising.
Let me try this on the last point here. The applicant's contractor shall provide the applicants shall provide the monitoring protocol with industry standard or guidelines at the time of the monitoring to the Conservation Commission for review and approval at least 4 weeks prior to the monitoring activity begins.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close, Tom.
Okay. Okay. Could I have a motions to approve this project with the special condition that I mentioned it with the changes stuff?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Byrne.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Agnew.
With these conditions, I feel they cover the things under our jurisdiction. Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. We have two easy certificate of compliance. The first one is the trustee of reservations, SE3-6052. The second is William and Krista Murphy, SE3-5532. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Agnew.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Byrne.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That's unanimous.
Our next hearing is at 6:30 on October the 17th. Could a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Byrne.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Agnew.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
It's unanimous, and we are adjourned at 5:07.